Hey everybody, welcome to the Toscan Review. Today we're going to be taking a look at a game called Rise of Industry that tries to capture the magic of games like Railroad Tycoon, Transport Tycoon, and games like that are built around trying to get things from one area to another. The basic premise is pretty simple. You've got cities in different regions. You basically start out by picking one region where your headquarters is, and you get that region for free. Then you basically decide what kind of things you're going to try and produce to satisfy the goods of the city. So it may want things that are simple, like for example, oil or gas, but it also might want things that are more complex, like it may want constructions or things like wood or toys for kids or clothing or steel or other more complex means and things. Satisfying these different objectives allows the city to expand, which opens up new objectives for you, like new tiers of things to get, and makes you more money because you have more goods and things you're doing and all that. It's basically all about that supply and demand. You're trying to fulfill the needs of the city by building out the different resources it wants. I did find the gameplay to be pretty fun for the most part. It's basically a pretty simple game at its core. You're basically just picking out what kind of resources you want to do and then building them and trying to get to that point. There's not really like a competitive aspect. There's other AIs you can run into, but it's nothing like Railroad Tycoon or something more competitive like that. They don't even try and aggressively try and buy you out or anything, despite the fact there is like stocks where you can buy different companies out. So it kind of makes them a bit of a backdrop. They don't feel like they're actually interacting with you much other than the fact that they're taking up territory that you would later expand to. You can buy them out and take over their stuff, but it can kind of be a clusterfuck trying to unwind what they've been producing and doing. So it's not really like it's an interesting relationship there at all. And so sometimes I feel like it'd be better off just turning them off and just kind of playing at your own speed as a result. As far as the actual management and logistics aspects of the game, there's a lot of different goods, like I mentioned before, with the different things like toys and gas and simple goods and more advanced goods. There's just a ton of things to produce in this game. And so it's a lot of fun for people who like those kinds of games like myself, but all the stuff is pretty simple. It's usually like one tier or maybe like another tier behind it that you have to kind of build into. So nothing quite like Factorio or something. We have like goods, producing components for another component that's going into the final product and stuff like that. So it's nothing particularly complex in the supply chain aspect. It's very simple and basic. And this can be both a blessing and a curse because it doesn't feel like there's enough engagement here. I also feel like sometimes you're kind of just sitting around a bit watching and waiting for the goods to be delivered and do things. The biggest part of this game is really definitely the transportation aspect of this game because you only have these small roads, and so a lot of times you'll have to try and play one ways or build in different types of traffic routes to try and move things around. There's nothing like highways or any massive routes that you're going to build, so you're going to have tons of logistics nightmares with trucks just getting clogged onto one particular road or something like that. So you have to build in like one ways, like I mentioned before, or ships or airships or other ways to move goods around. It's also a very much a constraint on things like long-term transportation because you don't want to go very far because it costs you more money to send your truck over there. And you also want to make sure that your truck is like completely full so you don't have like just one good getting transported on a ship that's going off or a truck that's driving off in one way. One thing I don't quite like about the game is some of the manual effort required to do things like sending goods to certain areas. I understand that like some parts, you kind of have to manually designate where ships are going and where trucks are taking things to, but sometimes it can be a real pain when like you've got all these buildings and then you just want them to do something really simple like just bringing water to an area, but maybe it's just outside of the warehouse radius or it's just in a weird spot, and then you've got to manually go in there and designate things. It can be kind of annoying at times. The graphics though are actually pretty good, I have to say. They're kind of a cartoony, charmy style to it. The sounds as well are the same, and they're pretty good as well. Overall, I feel like Rise of Industry is kind of an average game. It's not really bad, but it's not really amazing either. It doesn't do anything inherently better, but it doesn't really do anything worse. In a way, it's just kind of middle of the road. So Rise of Industry gets a 7 out of 10. It's not a bad game, but it's not really amazing either.